Hi, my name is Victoria. I am in my gap year after graduated basically almost exactly 1 year ago from St. Mary's College of California, class of 2025, and I was a biochem major. Anyways, I'm here to talk about my MCAT experience. I am from the Bay Area, and I took the MCAT exam in Fairfield, the Fairfield Testing Center, and I just wanted to talk about my experience. When I got there, it had a huge parking lot, a bunch of parking. I got there, I think almost exactly at 7:30. It was like 7:29. I planned to get there at like 7:15, but I ran a little late and I planned for that leeway, so I wasn't, mad that I was running late or anything. I had already gone to look at the place a week before. I couldn't go inside, but the testing center, the Pearson one, was in a huge building complex, so I just went to see where exactly the it was like what specific room in the building it was. So it was like on the first floor, and so I found it. I'm glad that I went and like checked it out, because if not I would have been pretty lost. It took me like, once I got into the building, maybe like 5 minutes to just find it. But I just wanted to see the parking situation, where exactly I'd have to park, and everything. And so once I got there, I sat down, gathered my things correctly, and then I went to the testing center. I also found where the bathroom was before going into the testing center, because thankfully some people were running into the bathroom before I decided to go to like the room. And I'm glad that I checked, because I assumed there would be a bathroom inside like the Pearson part of the building, but there wasn't. It was just the shared bathroom with like the whole building. So I literally had to like run down a hallway during my breaks, because I went to the bathroom every single break. And I'm glad that I checked that out. So when I got there, there was already some people there, of course. There were earlier, and I got in there, and so the lady that was there was only one lady behind a desk, and she was like helping one of the like test takers like get their palm scan, because it is 2026. I am today specifically, it's May 28th, 2026. I took the exam on May 22nd, 2026. So right now they're doing a palm vein scan, and so when I went in, they were doing that for somebody else. So I was really confused. I was like, do I just go sit down? Do I like ask the lady like what I'm supposed to do? Even though she's like talking, and I was just standing there and she was kind of just ignoring me. But anyway, what I was supposed to do is go in, and then there was like a rack of like physical numbers, like a little circle with number on it. I think I got like number 8 or something like that. And I was supposed to grab a number, and then like grab like, there was 2 sheets. One I think was generic for everybody, and another one was depending on your test. So there was other people taking different grad school exams and other stuff like that. So I was supposed to grab my number, grab like those 2 sheets, and take a seat, and then they would just like call us up by the order we got there, basically. So since I was number 8, I had a second to breathe and just get situated. And the lady was very specific. There was, let me use my phone. So if you are coming in this way, I'll just hold it sideways. If you're coming into the building this way, and the lady was on this side, like at the end, and there was seats like around here, and like she didn't want us to sit on the first 3 seats right here. She just wanted us to sit over here. The first 3 seats were reserved for people that had already gone in through the check-in process or whatever. So, I made that mistake. Other people made that mistake because she just, like, didn't say anything when people would walk in, and we were all kind of just, like, because she was, like, kind of, I don't know, I feel like she was a little mean in my opinion, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's so mean. Like, I don't think I'm the only one who thought that, but I mean, I'm sure that's just, like, testing environment, trying to get you in and out. So just beware. Some of them might be nice, but, you know, they might be like that. So, you know, I would ask, because other people that are already sitting there, they didn't really say anything, but I should have asked, because it took me a second to really understand what was going on. But some of them were really nice. I didn't know I was supposed to grab a paper, so I didn't grab a paper, and one of them gave me the paper to look over, so that I could, you know, give it to her because she asked for it when we went up there. So once my name was called, I think a lot of people brought their belongings up to the desk with them. I didn't. I had a lot of things. I had, like, my bag, my lunchbox, my water bottle, and my coffee, so I couldn't, like, take that all, so I just left it in my chair. And I went to up there, and she made me scan my palm, and I was kind of confused, but I should have looked, like, right next to the palm scanner. There was literally instructions on how exactly to put your hand. I feel like I was just, I don't know, like, if it was, like, the test anxiety, I was just, like, not aware of my surroundings, but, like, there was instructions right there, and I was like, how am I supposed to put my hand? Because there was, like, these 2 little prongs, and I was like, where do I put my fingers? I mean, I'm pretty sure it was, like, the 2 prongs were here, and I put, like, you know, 2 on one side, 2 on the other side, my middle finger in between. So, I don't know, it makes sense now, but, like, at the time I was like, I don't want to do this wrong. But anyway, she made me scan my palm, take it away, like, completely, like, pull it up, and then go back down, and then pull it completely out, and I did, like, my left hand twice, and my right hand twice, or something like that. And then, the other thing was, by the time we got up to the desk, our phone needed to be, shut off, like, completely, not just on Do Not Disturb. And then if you have a watch of any kind, I think they take it away, at least for the MCAT. But, like, if you have a smartwatch, it needs to be completely turned off, as well. And I think you can do that by, like, holding one of the buttons or something, whatever. And then they, like, put it into this plastic bag that they seal, and they tell you, you know, like, please, you know, not please, but don't touch your phone during the test, or else your exam will not be, you know, the rules will be violated or whatever. And I gave them my phone, they took my picture, they put my phone in the bag, they gave me back the little bag, so I put my phone with the bag in my locker, so I actually have access to it technically, but it's in the bag. So it was scary. I was like, I don't want to just, like, keep it, please, but you know, it's your responsibility, it's your phone. And then they gave me a locker key, and they wanted me to keep my number, the locker key, and then my ID. I needed to give them my ID as well, and so they gave me that back. And then I went, grabbed my stuff, put it in my locker, arranged it so that I could, you know, have my snack ready when it would be ready, and my water, like, right at the front, because I couldn't take the water into the testing room, and my coffee, you know, just how I practiced my practice exams, which, the way I would do my snacks was I would have coffee that I would have a sip of before the test, and then I would drink most of it right before cars, because I wanted to be really awake for that. I had trouble, like, I had a problem with, like, falling asleep during my practice exams until, like, the last few, and I decided that was because I decided to have coffee in those last few, and so I was like, I'm gonna do that. I had my coffee right before cars, and then, like, a chia seed pudding with like Greek yogurt and grapes. So I had that. And then during lunch, I would have the rest of my coffee and then a sandwich. And then if I had some leftover of the pudding, I would eat that if I was still hungry. And then during the third break, I had like a hard-boiled egg. And my breakfast for the morning was like a fried rice with egg, which is like what I eat like almost every single day, regardless of tests. So a lot of egg that day. But that was just my snack. And then I had like some whole wheat goldfish crackers just in case I got super hungry for some reason, but I didn't even touch those. And yeah, so I had all of that arranged in my locker, and then I went back to sit in one of those first 3 seats that I wasn't allowed to sit in at first, because now that I was in one of those first 3 seats, I was ready to go into the testing center. So there was already somebody in the first one, so I went to the second one. The person in the first chair was called, and then they went back and blah blah blah. So when I was called, I went back, and they basically asked for my ID and asked for my number, and I never got the number back, just would keep my ID and my locker key with me the whole time. That's what I would keep with me coming in and out of the test center. My number, that was the last time I saw it. And they made me, I had a sweater on, so like a really thin sweater with a hood. And I think if you have glasses, they'll scan them. They have like a new thing where they would, they had like a little scanner for little cameras or microphones. So they would specifically went down my zippers, and then they would just like kind of scanned like across my body. They made me like open my arms, and then like, since I had the sweater on, they made me, if I had my sleeves rolled up, they would make me roll it down, swipe down on my arm completely. And if I had my sleeve down, they would make me swipe down and then roll up my sleeves and show them that I had no writing on my sleeves. And then they would make me shake out my hood. That was the very last thing I did. They would make me swipe across my waist, swipe down my legs, and during one break, the lady was very particular. She wanted both hands on one leg at a time. So swiping down one leg all the way down, to make sure like I had nothing like bulging out of my pants or anything. And then both hands on the other leg all the way down to the ankle. I was late to my psych part of the exam because I was like, what do you mean both hands on it? Like, I don't know if I wasn't processing it and I was just going too fast, but she made me redo that process like 5 times and didn't fully explain it until the last part. She was like, both hands on one leg, and I was like, why do you just say that to begin with? Like, why are you wasting my time? Anyways, if they ask you to do that, that's what they're asking for. Both hands on one leg, both. And then I think that was it. They made me swipe down across the waist, which I said, and then they made me put my hands in my pockets, flip out my I was wearing jeans, flip out my jean pockets, and then put my finger in the little coin pocket, and then turn around and do the same thing with my back pockets. I couldn't flip them out, of course, but like they just made me like wiggle my hand in there. And I think that's it. Then they let me, before going in, they made me scan my hand again. I think it was just the right hand going in and out from then on. And then I went in. The test center had like about, I would say 10 or 12 like little cubicles, and each one had a computer, keyboard, mouse. By computer I mean monitor, keyboard, mouse, and then like these like super like big like soundproof headphones, which I loved. I was using like these Sony whatever noise canceling headphones during like my practice, and I'm also glad that I bought like a little wireless mouse, because I have a MacBook and using the trackpad was not really accurate, so I got a mouse. It was only like $8, I'm glad I got that. It's totally not necessary, but I'm glad I got it just so that I wouldn't feel as nervous using the mouse. Because I had practiced with the because I had practiced with the mouse during the practice exams. So I'm kind of glad I did that. But back to the headphones, they were huge. I couldn't hear anything. Like, I was super nervous going into the testing exam because there was already like 5 people in there or something, and I was like, oh, I gotta be really quiet because they're already taking their test. But like, once I had my headphones on and I knew there was people that were going to be coming in behind me, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear them coming in and out, and my cubicle, thing made sure like I wasn't distracted by anything, and I liked that. But they also have you on video, even though, like, okay, so if you walk into the testing center, it's the desk, the lockers, the chairs where you check in, and then you go to like another part like behind the divider, and that is where you can see all of the rooms because there's like a glass, there's like windows basically into the other room, and they have like a little block. It looks like a little control room, and you can see on the like screen they have like cameras on every single one of the like desks or little cubicles, and that is where they like did like my full body, like basically I patted myself down and I gave my ID and like scanned my fingerprint, and then I go into a door which takes me into that room with the 10 cubicles, or not 10 cubicles, however many cubicles there was, and they just basically lined the room. And so they're basically watching you, and they have cameras on you, and I'm sure they have microphones on you as well. And so back to the setup, I had the mouse, keyboard, the monitor, the headphones, and then there were also other headphones which I think were like connected to the computer, so you could hear like audio if your test has audio, but ours doesn't. The MCAT does not, so I didn't have to use those. I just left those. And excuse me, I left my ID and key like as far as I could from me to give myself the most space. I ended up setting the like, what's it called? The like the notepad that they give you to like take notes on or whatever, or write equations down or whatever. I put that on my right side because I'm right-handed. I put it on the right side of my keyboard, and then like I had my mouse right next to it. There wasn't too much space, but it was enough to not be super uncomfortable. The markers, I would have to like write multiple times for the ink to come out, so sometimes that would take me a second. I don't know if it's just the way that I write, that sometimes happens to me with pens, but yeah, beware that sometimes it'll, take a second for the ink to come out. And if you have they give you 2, at least in Fairfield, they give us 2. So if one's not working, use the other one. If none of them are working, raise your hand. Hopefully they can get you another one. And so I went through my first test. I was super, 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 super anxious. I usually don't get test anxiety in like normal tests. Even like during the practice test, I would get a little bit nervous. I'd be like, oh my gosh, here I go into this 8-hour test. But for that day, I was so nervous. I was basically shaking. Like my heart was pounding. My head was just like I don't know, it was like going crazy, and I didn't fully calm down until like 30 minutes into the exam, I will say, is when I realized like I'm fully calm, basically. I'm okay. But I don't think it really affected me too much because during my practice exams, the main thing that I struggled with, well, not the main thing, but I feel like I had a really hard time with pacing and timing, so I was able to like finish that section on time, so I feel like it actually didn't hinder me too much, and that's coming from somebody that struggles with timing. So I don't know, maybe that specific test had some more easier questions or more topics that I was familiar with, but I just felt like I was not running out of time, even though I was super stressed. So I'm glad, because I feel like it would have thrown me off if I didn't finish my very first section on time. So I'm glad it didn't. And then when it comes to the breaks, it'll show like this section's time is up if you don't choose to end the section early. And it won't take you to the break section until you click take a break. And when I looked it up, it told me, or like Reddit said, that no matter if you press take a break or go straight to the next section, like don't take a break, it will start your timer immediately. So I think I just clicked take a break like 5 seconds after, but I don't think that's fully true. I'm not saying like take an extra 5 minutes on that screen. I think after like about 10 seconds, it'll automatically move to take a break. I wouldn't trust that because I didn't try that. But the only thing I'm saying is you can basically raise your hand immediately when you see that screen. You don't have to wait to press take a break. So I raised my hand, and I looked back to make sure like that somebody saw me, that I was raising my hand, and that they were gonna come get me. At the time, they were checking somebody out, so it took them a second to get to me, which was what I feared, and it does happen because they are getting people started at the same time, and depending on whether or not they choose to do the tutorial, your timing can be almost exactly the same. Yeah, you can't control that really. I would say if you're really anxious about that, you can cut your break short, or something, like your very first break or your lunch break, so that you are more staggered with somebody else. Because usually if you're coming in at the same time, you're also going back at the same time, or coming out at the same time and going back at the same time. So just be mindful of that. Yeah. And so during that break, they had me, so I raised my hand, they came to get me, and they had to just make sure that I was on that like take a break page. And then they brought me out, and honestly, one time the lady was just like, come, like just come, like but she didn't fully go there and get me. But the first time it was like this super nice guy, and he came and he got me, and he was super quick in like scanning my hand. I gave him my ID, he checked and like put my name in or whatever, and then like I think I was set to go on my break. I don't think I had to pat myself down until I went back in. So I went out, grabbed a lunch. A lot of people right out of their break went straight to the bathroom, which I think is a good idea. Just get that out of the way first. But I think on every break I decided to have a snack first and then run to the bathroom. I don't think I liked that decision, but it is what it is. There is a clock in, at least for Fairfield, there is a like rope wall clock on the top, basically across from the very first door you come in. And that very first door you come in that like little waiting room to check in, is also where you will be having your break, having your snack and your lunch and stuff. So check the clock right when you come out. By then it'll I told myself, okay, it's probably been like 3 minutes already, so I would like eat my snack in probably like 2-3 minutes, ran to the bathroom, checked the time. If I had a little bit more time, I would eat a couple more bites of my snack. If not, I would just go straight back into the testing center, because I would allow myself like 3 more minutes, because one, there might be another person already waiting to go back inside, so you would have to wait for them to pat themselves down again, give them their ID, put their palm down, and then go back to their test. And then when you get back in, the proctor or whatever, people that are helping run the exam, have to like put in the password so that you can start the exam again. Like you can't just sit down and start taking it. They have to put in like a password, and then you can sit down, put your headphones back on, and go. I would definitely, if you can, I would recommend going back there with at least 3 minutes time, so that if you are, you know, back at your desk, you have like a minute to, after running around, just sit, recollect yourself, and then start the section. But like I said, there could be somebody already waiting to get, pat themselves down to go back into their test, so you have to wait for them. There might be somebody that just came out and is about to start their break, so you have to wait for them to get checked out, basically. So, basically remember that there's other people taking the test too, and it might take longer than how long it just took to pat yourself down. So keep that in mind. And then same thing every single time I went back in, they made me check my waistband, my arms, my legs, my hood, my sleeves, up and down, and then I went back in. And another thing, for anyone that has long hair, the lady basically yelled at anybody who had scrunchies. So only like a thin elastic, like one of those like black, really thin hair bands. I think it has to be like no more than 1/4 inch thick or something like that. But yeah. Hi, I'm back. So I just wanted to say now, since it's been a week since I took my test, I'm planning to do a reaction video. So I wanted to include how I think I might do. So I don't have a high goal score. I told myself I would apply with 505. So, how I felt during the exam. Chem phys, I felt like it was relatively easy, and I don't know if that was the nerves and me overcompensating and trying to make myself feel better, but I also crammed equations right before the test, like literally the morning of. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I just did not study well for this exam in general. So I'm not going to be making a video on advice for what I did for the exam, because don't do anything that I did. I did so bad studying for this exam, but that's why I just want a 505 or above, hopefully above. Like that would be a dream, a literal dream. And I did genuinely want a 520 before. I would have settled for a 515, and I was planning to retake it if I had gotten 510 or below. But at this point in the year, I rescheduled 3 times, twice this like school year, 2025 to 2026. So I just wanted to score. I just wanted to see if I could be done. And yeah, so that's what I'm going for. And I know that 505 is insanely low. I know that the average for matriculants is like 512, and I know that my GPA doesn't make up for it, but I'm also not going for crazy like schools. I'm going for low stat schools, and I just prefer it that way because I don't want super competitive environment, and I know that the lower stat schools actually have more of a grading than pass fail. But I just want to be done with this test. And at first I was worried because I was like, if I can't study for the MCAT, how am I gonna do med school? But like I've watched so many videos of people that have taken the MCAT and they're like, med school is nothing like this, or like studying for step 1, like I did fine even though I didn't do great for the MCAT. So I'm just hoping I'll get back into the grind, because I did love school. Like undergrad, I loved it, and I was able to, be on top of it for that. I had been scoring I think the lowest I got on Chem phys on an AAMC test was 125. So that's the lowest I'd say I hopefully can get. I know it depends on how everybody else did on the exam, so I feel like it was relatively easy. For me, it would have been relatively easy for everybody else. So I'm not saying I got a great score in Chem phys because I feel like it was relatively easy. I think it was just relatively easy for everybody. But we will see. So I will say something between 125 and the highest score I got on Chem phys was 129. So I'd say that's on the upper end, and I'm just really hoping that I really did do well on that. Cars, as always, I ran out of time. I didn't run out of time as bad as the time that I got 122. I did get 122 once. That was a really low point for me on cars, but I hope that I got 124 or at least 123. Like, I don't want 123 obviously, but I feel like that's likely. I feel like it's possible for me to have gotten 123. I don't think I got as low as 122, but we will see. We will see. So I would say between 123 to 124 for cars. And then for biochem, it sucks because biochem was my major and I love this stuff, but I just feel like because I didn't focus on it so much in my studying, I focused more on chem phys and cars, and not as much on biochem and psych soc because that was initially my strengths. Now it's kind of one of my lower points. So last time I got a 126. The lowest I've gotten on cars on biochem on an AAMC practice exam was 124. So I'm gonna say somewhere, I don't think I did the worst that I've ever done, but it's possible compared to other people. So I'd say between 124 and 126 is realistic. For psych soc, the lowest I've gotten on an AAMC exam is 125, 124. That was the very first one though, a while ago, like 2 years ago. When I say a while ago, I mean 2 years ago. A year ago it was 125. The lowest I've gotten this year was 126. So I'm gonna go with that one. I feel like there was a lot of terminology that I was not sure about, but I feel like that happens with every psych soc practice test, and I hope that that one was just a little bit harder for everyone, or I was just focused on the ones that I was like not sure about. So I'm just gonna try to be optimistic with psych soc, but I didn't really feel great about that one, to be honest. And I'm gonna guess optimistically between a 126 to 128. So I should probably calculate what that is. Okay, so that would be really sad. That brings me to anywhere between a 498 and a 507. So the odds are not looking great for me. But fingers crossed. I did pray a lot about it, and I will continue to. I really hope, because 498 to 507, I only have like, yeah, the odds are not great given how I feel. So, I'm just gonna hope for the best, and I hope that my score matches more on the higher end of my guesses. Yeah, fingers crossed. Hi, today is June 29th, and I took the MCAT May 22nd, got my score back June 23rd, and I got a lot higher than I expected. So what I expected for my score was between 498 and 507. I got a 511, yay! And I just wanted to, reveal my score and talk about how I felt. So I kind of had watched a lot of like score reaction videos. Some people were like super anxious like the whole time leading up to it. Some people didn't think about it. I was kind of like didn't think about it. I didn't really think about it. There was some days where I'd be like, oof, like what would I do if I do well? What would I do if I didn't do well? And for context, I am still planning to apply this year, but I haven't submitted my primary. I know, it's so bad. I know. I really wanted to submit on May 28th, or at least the very first week of the application opening. That didn't happen, and honestly, I was like, you know what? I probably didn't do great on the MCAT. I'm probably gonna have to retake it and wait another year. Didn't end up happening. I actually did really well on the MCAT, so much more than I thought I would. My threshold was 505, so if I got 505 or above, I was gonna apply this year, and I did. And if I had gotten 504 or less, then I was gonna postpone, retake the MCAT, and then I was gonna apply next year, which honestly at this point I was kind of hoping for, because after the test day, life happened and I just haven't been able to submit that primary. So I'm really trying to get it done by this week, and my deadline is July 1st, which I know is the day after tomorrow. So we'll see about that. At the very least, I need to get it done by the end of the week, hopefully by Thursday at the latest. And yeah, that's that. But I did want to compare my real score with my expected guessing score. So I guessed that my total score was between 498 and 507. My Chem phys I predicted to be between 125 and 129. I did predict this pretty well. I think I had predicted this because I felt like the section was just like, it just felt easier this time. I don't know, like maybe it was just concepts that I was familiar with. Maybe it was like more chemistry than physics, because I like chemistry more. And I don't know, but I'm glad that I predicted it. It was on the higher end of my prediction, of course, but I did score 129, which is 91st percentile in that section. And then for cars, I had predicted my score to be between 123 and 124. I didn't feel great about that one, but my real score was 126, 74th percentile, so I'm really happy with that. And then my Biochem, I predicted that to be between 124 and 126. I also didn't feel great about that section, but I got 127, which, you know, being a biochem major, still sad, but I'm happy with my Chem phys scores, so I will settle because, or not settle, I'm happy with it because my Chem score compensated. Even though at the beginning of my studying it was not the highest at all. But I'm glad that I got to this point. But yeah, I got 127 for Biochem, which is 75th percentile. And then for Psych Soc, I had predicted between 126 and 128. I usually score well on this section. The lowest I've gotten on Psych Soc is 124, way back in 2024. Have done better since then, and I've always done pretty good. I've always loved Psych, but my low shot was 126 and my high prediction was 128, but I did better than that. I got 129, which I'm really happy about because I didn't feel confident day of. And that was 85th percentile, which brought my score to 511, which is 82nd percentile. I'm super, super happy with it. I will insert a screenshot of it, hopefully, because I don't know, I wanted to know what it looked like, and I'd seen like other score reactions, so it like made sense to me by the time I opened my score. So really, really happy with my score. I feel really lucky. I can give a score breakdown of my previous exams. I can also insert a screenshot. Yeah, I might do that instead. I will insert a screenshot because my first few tests were in 2024 to 2025. The last like 6 or I'm gonna say it, the last 6 or 7 were the last 6 or 7 were in this year 2026. So I did take a lot of practice tests. I think that was the most valuable thing that I could have done. I didn't do that many practice questions, which I think is where I was lacking genuinely. I didn't fully finish content reviews, so that is also unfortunate, but I just wanted to take it. I wanted to have a score, and I wanted to see if I could apply this year or not. Like, I wanted to give myself that chance to know something how I'm actually doing on the actual test day. And I honestly am a pretty good test taker. I usually don't get test anxiety. I did get really anxious for this test, but even if I do get anxious, it usually doesn't affect my performance, so I'm very lucky about that. And I think I just got very lucky on this test date to have scored higher than I typically score and higher than I expected. So for reference, the highest score that I've gotten for Chem phys is 129, which is what I got on the test. The highest score that I've gotten for cars is 126, which is what I got on the exam. The highest score that I've gotten on Biochem is 128. So this one, I had never actually scored 128 on a AAMC official exam, just on like other third-party resource exams. So on the AAMC exams, I think the highest I had gotten, one second. Okay, the highest score that I had gotten on an AAMC practice test on the Biochem section was actually 126. So I'm very happy that I got higher than that on my real test. And then the highest score that I've gotten on Psych Soch, I think is also 129, and that was on an AAMC test. So I got the highest scores that I had gotten on my previous exams compiled up. Like, I got my best Chem phys score, I got my best car score, I got my best Biochem score, and I've got my best Psych Soch score. I actually did better than my best score for Biochem. So I'm super, super happy with this. As I assume most of you know, 511 to 512 is the average accepted or admitted MCAT score, or something like that. I think it's for MD programs, because I think the AAMC does that, like, statistics stuff. But I'm super happy with this score after, like, looking up a lot, because I wasn't sure. I was freaking out day of. I'm not gonna have to retake that. I think from what I found online, people say that it's a lot more risky to take, to, you know, like, risk a solid MCAT score for like 515 or above. Like, if I score like same or below, doesn't look great. Not, you know, terrible, but doesn't look great. Doesn't look better than what I have now. So, and also because my practice exams were lower than what I got now, I'm not gonna bank on that happening next time. And I also don't want to put myself through that again. MCAT studying was like the hardest thing I've ever done, and undergrad was really hard. I loved it, but it was really hard. MCAT studying, I mean, I did love like revisiting content and learning things that I didn't know again, but just reviewing practice questions, practice exams, not only was it like terrible for my confidence, and like it was just so time consuming, and that was the hardest part for me, and that was the most important part, was reviewing any practice that I did. But that was the hardest part. That's the thing that I hated the most. I loved the content review part. I just had to force myself to do other things when I had limited time. So if you have any questions regarding my MCAT experience, my academic experience, feel free to leave a comment. I will gladly answer it. I want to be very transparent, especially with my academics going into this application process. So if you have any questions, I can answer them to the best of my ability. And any questions on MCAT, any questions on the course that I took, I can definitely answer anything related to that, or the application, especially because hopefully by then I will have submitted my primary and will be pre-writing secondaries. So I should be able to answer any application related questions. I also made a video about a COMAS application, like just a little walkthrough, because I felt like, I don't know, when I was like researching ACOMAS, when I was filling out the application, I haven't submitted yet that one either, but when I was filling out the application, I was like really confused on a lot of things, and I was like looking for videos like to see like what other people put, because I didn't want to do something wrong. Of course, none of us do, but I was just kind of freaking out about it. So I feel like I did find some answers. I don't know if they were great answers, but I found some answers that I felt confident in saying like, okay, I won't be penalized for doing it this way, at least, So that's why I decided to make that video, just to show people that were also confused, one, what it looks like, and two, like what I put, so that maybe that can help others decide what to put for theirs if they're confused too. But yeah, feel free to ask any application, MCAT, academic related questions. I'll be happy to answer them.